Hi, I'm Judy Richards, and I'd like to introduce Senator Jackie Winters, incumbent Republican candidate for Senate District 10. Hello, Senator.
Hi, Judy.
Tell us what you did for seniors and people with disabilities in your time in office.
Do I start all the way back from the beginning? Well, you know, I've been involved in the legislative process since 1999. And then prior to that, of course, I served two governors, Governor T and Governor Call. And during my career, since 1999, I've been involved in helping to fund and continue the program in Project Independence. I've been involved just recently in making certain that we actually saved the Oregon Health Plan, the Medicaid funding from Oregon Health Plan. I was part of that work group, as well as a part of the advocacy to get the legislation through, so that we made certain there was the dollars there in order to actually make certain we had health coverage for the senior and people with disabilities.
And that's quite a lot.
That was quite a lot this past session.
Tell us at least 3 of your positions that would encourage a senior or a person with disabilities to re-elect you.
Well, I guess if you go back through my old career, it would be everything from Project Independence to actually the work group and the legislation that passed that actually we did the same that we did for children, and that is to make certain that the elder and senior people with disabilities you could report abuse, and that investigation would follow up to make certain that we were keeping them safe, both in their home as well as in the various institutions. That was a huge undertaking, as you know. But in addition, I do budgets, and so it's making certain that those programs that fund senior people with disabilities are funded.
Thank you. Oregon Project Independence is a program that's kept seniors and people with disabilities in their own home, and yet every year proposed funding for OPI is significantly cut. What did you do to protect current funding for OPI if re-elected, and how would you ensure continued funding for this cost-effective program?
Judy, as you know, Oregon has been, probably still one of the only states that have done this, and that is where they use the general fund to fund
Yes. Project
Independence. And you are correct that every session it appears as though those who don't fully understand the impact of the budget that we've done, those of us who have been around for a long time, and appreciate the fact that Oregon actually invested in a complete system. That's on the one hand Project Independence, which keeps individuals in their own home and allow them to be there by doing things like maybe it's a wheelchair ramp that's needed, or maybe there's some other things that are needed, or maybe there is somebody coming to take care of them on a periodic basis. But that program actually pays for itself. And I will continue to advocate for the funding for that program. You know, you're right, every session we go through it as one of the first to get on the cutting block. And I'm one that says that should probably be one of the last that gets on the cutting block.
Well, I thank you. Please give us a 2-minute overview of what you did in the past legislative sessions to enhance services for senior and people with disabilities.
Oh gosh, and I just said, you know, I opened by saying my involvement, everything from Project Independence. I also, through my career, made certain that we had the funding for assisted living facilities. Back in, I believe it was 2003, where there was the attempt then to actually not only cut the program, but actually to stop funding for new development of assisted living facilities. And so I happened to be chair that year of the budget, and actually refused to do that, and said that we needed, instead of retracting, we probably need more, because as the population, we're growing, we're not diminishing. So for me, that was one that I did, and of course the other one was my work with Gilliam on the work group on the abuse issue, to make certain that we were making certain that senior and people with disabilities were being, that that abuse was being reported, and that the district attorneys actually would follow up and actually investigate, particularly the issue of financial abuse, which I understand has become one of the bigger issues that are involved with seniors. So yeah.
Well, thank you. What would you do on a state level so that seniors and people with disabilities no longer face a lack of accessible and affordable housing?
Well, a couple of things, and I was speaking with my neighbor. One, I think we need to continue to invest, and more so on the front end, which, of course, as you know, that's Project Independence. And two, I think on the affordable housing issue, it's an issue that, and I was speaking with someone day before yesterday, the lands inventory is one that we don't talk about a lot, but yet if I talk to cities and counties, that issue is front and center, and that is that issue of that they need to make certain that they can actually expand the urban growth boundaries. Because you cannot talk about the issue of affordability without getting into the issue of land. That's one issue. The other issue, and I was speaking with someone the other day, and we talked about the concept of tiny houses with inside of that land of having wraparound services. So it would not only benefit seniors, but it would also benefit homeless and the mentally ill. Because if you begin to think about all these entities need certain services with which to function. And so we were talking about, I guess Utah actually is one state that actually is beginning to do that. So I said, I guess I'm going to have to go to Utah to visit to see what they're doing on this whole issue of affordable housing with these various population groups.
I hope to hear more about that later. How would you prioritize state funding, including the fund that is matched with federal funds for services to an increasing senior and people with disabilities population?
How would I prioritize? Well, actually, I'll start with Project Independence. You know, we never did get any federal funds for Project Independence, and I think that I still would like to talk to Congress because I think that's an investment that they should make. And that would give us a 3-to-1 leverage that we don't currently have. The other thing that, as you know, in looking at federal funds, our biggest one, of course, is the Medicaid dollars that we do on that one. I will probably be again on that work group. I was on the last work group, and I'm being briefed, of course, by the Oregon Health Authority, because as you know, one of the biggest issues facing us is health care. And so for me, that is a priority of making certain that we're getting those dollars that we need in order to make certain that we're able to provide the health care, but also to encourage Congress to continue that funding, and to encourage our delegation in Congress to actually make an investment with using those funds for Project Independence. I think that across the state, across the country, we've lost a huge ability to actually leverage dollars that I think are well worth every penny that we invest in Oregon.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Senator Winters.
Well, you're welcome.
This is Senator Winters, incumbent Republican candidate for Senate District 10. And thank you for joining us today.
Well, can I say thank you, Judy, for inviting me today?
Yes.
As another senior.
Yes, thank you. And I thank you as a senior.